How's it going, guys? I'm hoping you're all staying safe and healthy in these hard times. We're gonna get through this together. In the meantime, let's do something creative and let's do something fun. Now, today we're gonna talk about creatures other than humans, non-humanoids. In most fantasy settings, there are other creatures that are, human kind of in shape, but they're not really human. The one we're going to be focusing on particularly are the Dragonborn. These can also, in some settings, they're like lizard folk or just anything reptilian, basically in nature. This one I'm focusing on these Dragonborn characters that they're human-like in shape, but they carry on a lot of dragon-like features. They're their own race, reptilian race, and a lot of them have like the ability to breathe fire or lightning or poison, whatever have you. We're gonna learn how to get that dynamic shape that you expect out of a character like this, so that it really shows up and just stands out on the battlefield. So, let's get into it. Now here's the part where I say if you guys haven't checked out my first two videos, I would highly recommend checking them out. What I do here and the rest of the video will make a whole lot more sense if you do. But here we go. We're going to start tracing this guy out. We're going to use the basic human stencils for this, but we're going to just extend the hands and the feet just a little bit more. You'll see why here in a second. Also, we're going to do something different with the head. We're going to do a kind of triangular neck, and we're going to be drawing the head of our Dragonborn, kind of a triangular shape. We're going to add some horns, some dragon horns to this character as well. And then after this, you just put in the rest of your details just like you would a normal humanoid. And once it's all sketched out, then the next thing to do is just ink this guy out. I'm going to put in some of the details here, get that bold line with that fine tip black pen, get all those details in there. As you do this process too, one big thing you're going to notice a difference is we're adding clawed fingers to the hands. This does get tricky, especially later on when you're cutting it out. But when you're doing reptilian creatures or creatures with claws, it's really important that you give them that distinctive, those sharp edges that they tend to have. So adding the horns and the claws to this character really helps bring it to life. And we're going to add some details here just to make it look more like a wizard type character. Erase the pencil up from underneath the ink, and we're going to start filling in color on the tips of the nails. When you're ready to cut it out, then those nails will really stand out. Let's do some really, I thought about just doing some fun colors on this one, some teals and blues and some brownish purple colors, some plum colors there. This dragon, I'm going for actually kind of a white Dragonborn, so I'm just going to have some kind of like off light blue accents on it and some light grays to kind of give it some texture, some scale patterns, just to make it pop out and look really dynamic. Adding some kind of cross hatching onto the clothes to make them not look so neat and tidy. And we'll just get this guy cut out. The tricky part, of course, is around the horns and the claws, but it's going to look great and dynamic when you take the time and the patience to do so. Now that this character is all cut out, and we've colored and drawn on both sides, the fine details on the horns and the claws there. Let's let you guys see the head portion here. It's important to draw the face on the back part of the character instead of the bottom part, and you'll see why here in a second. When you're getting ready to get your pre-painted wooden token base, you're going to get your tweezers and you're going to bend the head here, and you're going to kind of art the neck a little bit there. And this part gets tedious as well. You want to kind of fold the sides of the face downward on both sides. It gives it a really cool 3D animalistic face, and that's the kind of look you're wanting to go for. After we shape the face like this as well, we're also going to use the tweezers to give kind of a curl to the horns a little bit, kind of do a little back curl and make them look a lot more impressive and dynamic. once you get the tedious parts of this figured out and get a good practice doing this kind of a character, it does get easier over time. At first it can be really tricky figuring these things out. It's also fun to give some curve and detail to the claws as well, and the hands. You're bending the clawed fingers in, just really gives it this really awesome feature that just, it does not go unmissed on the tabletop. And with this character too, as expected with the claws, it's we're going to be adding a weapon into this character's hands afterward. But first, the other really important thing to note is when you're doing the legs, since it's a creature, you're going to want to bend them in a certain way so that they basically, you're going to give them 2 ankles. And you'll kind of see what I mean here in a second. It gives them that a back leg of a dog or another animal kind of look to them. It just really makes them so much more dynamic and interesting when they have that animal-like feel to them. Of course, we're going to add our tacky glue to the feet, mount it to the base with the tips of the tweezers, and we're going to let this character dry for the time being, and we're going to move on to the next step of this project. Now, in some games, some type of Dragonborn don't have tails, but I really like the way tails look on Dragonborn. It just makes them look so much cooler, in my opinion. So here we're adding a tail to our character. We're just going to trace a simple, really long triangle, really easy. Add a couple spine details to the back. Going to etch in some blues, some light blues onto the scales to give it some texture, some cross-hatching with light gray. Cut this tail out. And we're going to do just a little bit of texture on the reverse side of the tail too, just some simple light gray lines just to give it that scaly reptilian belly look for it. We're going to shape these. You can usually do this with your fingers, but it's always good to have the tweezers handy just in case. Give it a little bit of a twist there so that the tail's not just coming straight down. Adding a little bit of tacky glue. And we're going to aim this right below the waistline of the character. We're going to fasten it with the tweezers so that it gets a good strong hold on there. And we're going to let that dry and set it off to the side. And we're going to add another fun little detail here. We're going to be giving it I'm going for a kind of a mace type weapon for this particular character. I'm going to sketch it in real quick. And then we're going to go over the details with fine tip black pen yet again. And so here, just a quick look at how it looks now. And adding in that detail with the pen, and then we're ready to color it in. And then basically, after you get the colors that you want, just do the same on the reverse side, and then you're ready to cut it out, and you're ready to stick it to the character. So this is another tricky part too. I like to get a scrap piece, put glue on it, and use a toothpick, and on one end I like to mount a little bit of glue onto the character's hand so that when we paste the weapon to it, it sticks much easier. It's easier to get that toothpick into those areas that you can't get the tip of the glue bottle in. Once that mace is ready on the hand, we're going to use the opposite side of the toothpick, and we're just going to press into the hand of that palm so that the character can hold that. And we're going to let it dry off to the side, and we're ready to do the next step. This is a fun little one that I really love doing this. These is capes. Cape's a really good way to add some dynamic looks to your character. Gives it just this lifelike feel. So we're going to draw little details of like a hood, like a folded hood on the back of this character. We're going to color this guy in. Do the same on the reverse side here as well after we cut it out. And then the fun part about doing capes is getting to fold them and make them look like they're blowing in the wind, or the character's like in an action pose. So here we're going to just bend it a little bit into different shapes. Sometimes you just got to play around with it and figure out what works and what you like, but here we're doing a little bit of a kind of a pinched fold here to give it just that billowing in the wind effect. Once you get it into the shape you want, just use some of that leftover glue. It should be nice and tacky by now, being sitting there, and you just get that glue, apply it, and stick it to the back of your character. Get a good solid press on there, and then you're ready to set it off to the side and dry, and it's all ready to go. You can throw it on with the rest of your lizard folk or dragonborn characters, and you're ready to take it on its next adventure. Well, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, learning how to create some dynamic creatures for your tabletop games. It's amazing how just some cardstock and some creativity, you can get some really dynamic and cool characters for your fantasy settings. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you'd like to see anything particular that I haven't covered yet. I got a whole list of things that I'd like to go over with you guys in the next coming weeks. So we'll plug along and we'll get through a lot of these creations. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, just leave a comment down below. And we'll catch you guys next time. Until we meet again.